Hey, Brittany, I wanted to leave you some feedback on Essay 2. As a whole, I think that there is some interesting response to the story and the two articles that you bring into this paper, Gatto, Bareka, and Bambara's work. And I think I see a good beginning of a thesis. Um, I want to talk to you a little bit about grammatical and sentence level concerns, because there's quite a few grammatical errors in this submission that makes it difficult to follow your ideas. Um, and I just think with another round of revision, this could be a much stronger essay. So, your opening sentence, for example, I think that you have a typo here. You say, when defining what education, you can notice that it says, and then you give the definition when looking up the definition on Google. So I think two things are going on here. You have an unnecessary dependent clause here. And really, I think that this phrasing is actually stronger than your phrasing here. It's just in the wrong spot. Uh, so I would move this phrase up here and then just scrap this section altogether because something's missing right here. Second, you want to avoid writing in second person in professional writing. It's too informal. So if you looked this definition up on Google, I would talk about yourself then, right? So bring the I into the paragraph. But what happens after that is this paragraph gets a little disorganized. So I think that this is your thesis, right? This is your definition of education, but you have it in the wrong spot. So remember that readers want thesis statements at the end of the introduction. And so it kind of feels like you're creating a method of proof here, meaning I am going to briefly tell you that these are the sources that I'm going to use to prove my argument. But if you go back and look at this whole section, you don't really make a point here. You just say in the stories, Gatto thinks this. Uh, Bambara creates a character that does something, and then Bareka is in opposition of trigger warnings because of her belief in education. So we're not really sure what you are doing with these yet, meaning that you just kind of list them, but the reader can't tell why they're there at this point. So this introductory paragraph needs quite a bit of revision, um, for clarity and organization, but also for grammar and sentence level clarity as well. Also, be certain to edit for your comma splice right here. So you start off by talking about Gatto, and I think that you are beginning to make a pretty good response to Gatto, but the ideas kind of fall flat, meaning that you say, I feel that we do this on a day to day basis, train ourselves to be independent and critical thinkers. Um, so give us a concrete example of that, right? That idea kind of, it's a good one, but it kind of falls flat without clear, concrete examples. Second, you you want to do your best to not simply start off body paragraphs with the signal phrase because the reader can't tell what point you're making about the article. It's best to start with a key idea early in the paragraph so the reader understands what point you're making here, what point you're making here, and more importantly, how the ideas in this paragraph pivot over here, right? So this kind of feels like you're just listing summaries, right? Instead of making key ideas that support your thesis, and then this idea supports your thesis, so on and so forth, right? So you need to revise for key ideas here. Um, Here's another example of a sentence that needs some revision. I think this might be a typo in here. I am going to disagree with your conclusion here about Miss Moore's lesson. I don't think the point is to get the children to be able to spend money on nice things, because that's just going to continue the inequality that Miss Moore is actively fighting against. Now, some students in that story some of the characters in that story might walk away thinking that this is the lesson, but I would argue that that is not Bambara's point. And in fact, Bambara is asking them to well, perhaps think about what Miss Moore is doing. So Miss Moore is educated, and could go into the toy store and buy nice things as well, but she doesn't spend her time consuming goods. She spends her time helping other people, and I would argue that is really what Bambara is asking us as the readers to consider. You've got some editing for capitalization and spelling here. I am lost in what you mean here. So I think that this needs more development. The writer includes this to show two different types of classes, social and economic, to help the children gain influence. I'm not sure what you're talking about here. It sounds like it's an interesting idea, but I don't fully understand what you mean by social and economic, how those are examples and what kind of, sorry, examples of class, and how that helps the children gain influence. So this idea is interesting, but it's underdeveloped, so you'd need to expand and clarify here. Here's another example of a sentence that needs some revision. Read this sentence out loud, and I think that you'll hear that it needs some revision. Again, this kind of feels like a list as opposed to a paragraph that is having a conversation with the other paragraphs. We talked before about including key ideas. So I think the key point of this paragraph needs to be stated before your signal phrase. And you've got a homophone error here too. Make sure that you're editing for spelling. So I think, like I said, there are some good ideas in this paper, but some revision and some broad scale revision in terms of organization, placement of the thesis, and key ideas are needed. And there's a lot of sentence level editing that is needed as well. But I think with another round of revision, you could bring this grade up. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.